Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DCEU and Everything Else Daily. Today we'll be asking, is Wonder Woman 84 a flop? I'll be telling you my top 3 DC live action supervillains and you'll be surprised. And at the end of the show, I will be talking about the rumour that Jodie Whitaker will finish her reign as the Doctor at the end of season 13. Is it possible? Is it true? I think it is. So, let's start with Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 1984. Is it a flop? Well, you know what? It is impossible to gauge within a pandemic whether Wonder Woman 84 is a flop or not. I've noticed that in the United States, it's had a 67% drop-off. Again, you can't gauge. It's obviously bad. It's not a good thing. But big drop-offs happen all the time. The problem is with this movie, even if there was no pandemic, the drop-off would have been huge. The key quota of when this film was going to be at its best was going to be its opening because nobody knew what the film was going to be. So basically everyone goes in, we love Wonder Woman 2017, we're going to go and see this movie. They see what it is and a quarter of people like it and will go back for more viewings, but most people won't. The key element of a successful film isn't really, it is key to have a big opening, but it's your repeat viewings. Now, what Aquaman did, which Wonder Woman 84 was not going to do, and just remember, Aquaman came straight after Justice League, a film that could have ended the DC Extended Universe, but they'd already made Aquaman. They had to release it. There was no way they were going to bin that movie, and they were working really hard with James Wan. Walter Hamada just came in as the DCEU head. Worked really hard to put to bed some elements he didn't want to use and make this the best movie it could be. So James Wan and Walter Hamada, who have worked together before, worked really well together, put their heads together. Yes, Shazam wasn't Walter Hamada's first movie. He came in and helped James rework the Aquaman movie. It made over $1 billion. Mostly critics liked it. It was a really good movie, breathtaking VFX, groundbreaking VFX, a really good film, and it's one of my favourite DC Extended Universe movies. So people went back to watch it again and again because it was so good. So why did people love the first Aquaman? And why are people tearing Wonder Woman 84 to pieces and not going back? First of all, they're not going back because it's a pandemic. Even if you went out the first time, you know you don't really want to keep on going to the movie theatre during a pandemic, especially not in the United States. So it's really difficult to gauge if this movie's a flop. In terms of during a pandemic, I think globally it's doing okay. It's doing as well as it could have done. I do feel that if the film was on the level of Wonder Woman 2017, maybe it would have done a little bit better on its second weekend and we wouldn't be talking about a 67% drop-off in America. It's obvious this film is going to fall short globally when everything's added up together. It's going to fall short of Tenant's global run. But I think you are probably looking at maybe 280 million globally. Maybe you're looking at 300 million, which is not great. But obviously what we haven't gauged is how much money have Warner Media made from releasing it on HBO Max for a whole month. I'm not sure if they're going to tell us. I'm sure Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff will kind of tell us something. No one's going to believe them anyway because this is the kind of atmosphere movie Twitter and movie YouTube is. But if you put Wonder Woman 84 next to Wonder Woman 2017 and kind of judge it, the movie falls flat on its face. Now, I can easily say to you that Wonder Woman 2017 is one of, if not the best comic book movies ever made, and is up there with one of the greatest movies ever made. As I keep on saying, the movie's a fucking sonnet. It's beautiful. Only love can save the world. It's beautiful. Zack Snyder led that movie. I've even read a paragraph, and I don't know when Patty Jenkins said this, that basically she felt all they really wanted was a female director, so they could say they were using a female director, but when she made suggestions, they weren't interested. Well, maybe, Patty, it's nothing to do with you being a woman, but maybe it's something to do that your suggestions were shit. And looking at Wonder Woman 84, we can see why. The truth of the matter is, Zack Snyder's vision for Wonder Woman is much better than yours, because Patty Jenkins doesn't believe that Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman should be this brutal warrior princess. She got rid of the sword. She got rid of the shield, which looked awesome in the first movie, and great things were done with it. This is what I've said. Patty Jenkins is only confirming about saying that she had very little say on what happened in Wonder Woman 2017. She was literally just the episode director. And by God, didn't that work out for the movie? But she's complaining. This person just can't stop talking. It's like every time she opens her mouth, she's digging herself a deeper grave. And I like her. I think she's got a great way about her. I think she's an okay director. But she's been living off the back of other people's work. She's been living off Wonder Woman 2017. It's really funny, isn't it, when the critics and pundits were saying how great it was. They thought she was totally responsible for it. I wonder if they knew that basically this was the vision of Alan Heinberg and Jason Fuchs and Zack Snyder. If they had been so complimentary towards the movie, I doubt it. Because Wonder Woman 2017, as I've said before, is absolute evidence that Zack Snyder gets Wonder Woman. And you know what's really funny about this? Because it isn't going to be far apart, is it? The release of Wonder Woman 84 and the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League in March. And apparently, according to Grace Randolph, pinch of salt time, there will be a trailer in February and the marketing will ramp up. I expect the marketing actually to ramp up very quickly, very soon. But of course, February, when it's closer, it will be all over the place. And I can't wait. But one thing you need to look out for is Wonder Woman in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because she's going to be everything she was in the first movie. She's going to have the shield. She's going to have the sword. She's going to chop Steppenwolf's head. Patty Jenkins doesn't agree with that. Patty Jenkins is a feminist. But it's interesting because by having Wonder Woman being a pacifist who doesn't believe in violence, only believes in defense and not attack, doesn't that give you the stereotypical female, hearts and flowers? Here's some flowers. You're beautiful, you're precious, you're tender, you believe in peace. Isn't that the stereotypical woman, rather than having this epic warrior princess that we've seen in the comic books? But Patty Jenkins doesn't believe that's who Wonder Woman should be in this modern era. But she's still quite happy, even though she wants to stereotype Wonder Woman as a typical kind of pinky, lovey kind of female. She still wants us to see aerobic females bending over while dirty old white men watch them bend over. Mixed messaging. These people don't even know what they believe in anymore. It's crazy. So, you look at Wonder Woman 84, which is not a terrible movie by any shape of the imagination. But as I say, when you compare it to Wonder Woman 2017, I could sit there literally watching Wonder Woman 2017 on repeat. It is a beautiful movie. It is definitely comparable to Superman the movie. It's as classic as that. I think it's the best, as I keep on saying, comic book movie ever made. And I love Man of Steel and BVS. But that ticked the boxes for everyone. It had the typical Zack Snyder style, the brutality of the fighting and the combat, but it had real character progression and development. Everything was perfect, and Patty had something to do with it. I think maybe that line at the end, only love will save the world, maybe that is actually from Patty. So she did have something to add to this film, but ultimately Zack Snyder was the big boss. And, someone said it on Twitter today. She may support Zack. Zack may support her. But I tell you what, there's a big, big difference of opinion about what Wonder Woman should be between these two people. But when you look at Wonder Woman 2017 and what a wonderful movie that is, it's just got balance. It's got everything. It's got poise. And you look at Wonder Woman 84, it's just interesting to see what kind of cheetah we would have got under Zack Snyder. So many things in Wonder Woman 84 could have done better. The problem is she didn't want to make 84 a character, as we've discussed before. But the problem is you're calling it Wonder Woman 84. I mean, at least with Wonder Woman 2017, you didn't call it Wonder Woman The Great War, even though Wonder Woman 2017 is a war movie inside a superhero movie. It's beautiful, and you see the consequences of war. It's beautiful. A beautiful sacrifice. Those friends of Steve Trevor's, brilliantly written. I could watch their interactions with Diana. So brilliant. So brilliant, you know. Who's that one who's kind of like the actor and the charmer, and he kind of comes across as a bit of a creep, but then Diana realises there's more to this guy, and she actually likes him. And he opens up to her and says, you know, sometimes we can't be who we want to be. I wanted to be an actor, but I was the wrong colour. Beautiful stuff. But that might seem as woke, but it's actually very good the way it's done. It's done in a beautiful way. And we're talking about someone wanting to be an actor who is a colour that won't be accepted as an actor in 1918. So we're not talking about, maybe they're trying to make the point, but it doesn't matter. It's done brilliantly. Those three male characters are brilliant. And so we go to Wonder Woman 84, a film that has a very, very slow pace. And in the second act, it's not even, oh, Mick, you know, they're trying to develop the thing here, develop the characters. It's just so slow. There's too much Diana and Steve Trevor in this. I think it has, and I mean, lots of people are comparing it to Superman 2. I always felt that Superman 2 spent too much time on the whole thing of Clark not having his powers, giving it up for Lois. We had very little action in the movie. The best parts of Superman 2, before we get to that groundbreaking historical fight between Superman and the three villains from Krypton, which is the best part of the movie and was groundbreaking at the time. You just didn't see things like that in movies. But the movie is so slow. And basically, it's like she's taken Superman 2. She's literally tried to make Wonder Woman 1984 into Superman 2. And she's so obsessed with Richard Donner, even though he had nothing to do with that movie, right? In the end, because he did his own version, didn't he? Which they cut and they brought in Richard Lester. But it's like she's so obsessed. She wanted it to look like it was filmed in the 80s. And I don't understand that. Why would you do that? Because when you see the opening sequence in Themyscira, you think this is going to be exactly as awesome as the first one. Because it all looks great. We're on the island. They're doing the Amazonian Games. A lot of people say, what's the point? Just to tell us that cheating's wrong. Shut up. It's a great sequence. Now you're nitpicking. And I don't like nitpickers. It's boring. So it's a great sequence. The film starts to tail off as soon as we get into 1984 and that mouse sequence, because they're trying to be funny, they're trying to display Diana's heroics, which it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. Listen, as I say, not a terrible movie, but the problem is this is typical Hollywood right now. You know, DC have had so much bad press since their live-action universe started in 2013 with Man of Steel, a film that doesn't deserve criticism, just like BVS doesn't. And even that Suicide Squad, you know, video editing cut, music video cut, is still pretty good, I would say. It's definitely better and more interesting than Wonder Woman 84. So there you go. So what's happening now is all of a sudden, when they see the reaction to this film, look, you know, Jason Kilar and Ann Sarnoff have been on the money for quite a few months now. They were on the money to greenlight Zack Snyder's Justice League. They were on the money to say to, what's her name again? Patty Jenkins, sorry. Already forgetting names. It's early over here. Forgive me. But, yeah, they were on the money to say to, you know, maybe you should cut that mouse scene. I don't believe they wanted. I think the only reason they might have wanted the Fantasy Island scene cut is because they didn't feel it had any relevance to the rest of the film. But if you cut that sequence, you're really in trouble for anything engaging for a very long time in the film. The most engaging thing about the film after that opening sequence is, of course, Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord. It's an incredible performance, nothing like the Maxwell Lord we know and love from the comics. But it works. He's brilliant. He makes this movie. And I think that Barbara Minova is quite good as Barbara Minova. I think ultimately they wanted Cheetah in this film, and it was like they were setting her up for the third movie. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. So we know that they're fast-tracking Wonder Woman 3. Now, the only reason they're doing this is because they can't get rid of Patty mid-franchise. They can't just because questions will be asked. You're getting rid of a female director, you know, the one that gave you the first movie, even though she's not totally responsible for that movie. And we all know that now. They can't do it. They can't spin it. The PR machine can't spin it at all. I mean, I think that Jason Kilar would happily say to Zack Snyder, could you please write and direct Wonder Woman 3? But they're not going to do that. So what they're going to do is they're going to fast track this third movie, then be done with her. She's already shouting out Marvel and saying Thor Ragnarok's the best, one of the best MCU movies, yada, 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 yada. So she's trying her best to ingratiate herself to other fans because she knows she's done at DC. And she keeps on making comments about Warner Brothers, comments about what they wanted from the first movie that she didn't agree with. So either they're just going to let her do what she wants with the third movie. It would be absolutely suicidal to do that. I think it's interesting. Still, her and Gal haven't made a public statement. I do suspect that we're getting the old team back together for this. Maybe Alan Heinberg and Zack Snyder and Jason Fuchs will be working on the story, and maybe she'll go back to being kind of this episode director, which is obviously making her very, very angry. But I'm sorry, Patty, you were given an opportunity to make a great Wonder Woman movie. You didn't make a movie with your own identity in it. You made a movie with Richard Donner's identity in it. And Richard Donner is an iconic, brilliant director who I love to bits. But at the end of the day, it's not 1984 anymore. It's 2021, and people expect something different from their superhero movies. Whether that's right or wrong, or maybe you're right and we're wrong, it doesn't matter. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what people want. You're in a service. You're here to serve the consumer as well as do a vision. And I know what your vision is about love and Wonder Woman being a pacifist. But unfortunately, in the first movie you directed, Wonder Woman wasn't a pacifist. She literally stabs that German guy, right, who's the main villain in the film. I love him, by the way, and I forgot his name. He cracks me. I think he's brilliant. But anyway, so she's killed before in the DC Extended Universe. She's going to kill Steppenwolf brutally. This is the version people want to see. And what's even worse, when people do see Wonder Woman in Zack Snyder's Justice League, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, Jesus Christ, this is Wonder Woman, not what we saw in Wonder Woman 84. And this is what cements Patty's position as untenable. So they're fast-tracking this movie. They want to get it out of the way. They want to be done with her. Will she last the process of Wonder Woman 3? I have my doubts. I believe it could be a situation, especially if in Zack Snyder's Justice League, the public and the consumer love his Wonder Woman better than the one in 84, which they are going to do. It's obvious from people's reactions to Wonder Woman 84, even the people who on Twitter, she's got a lot of support from blue check marks and shills telling her what a great movie it is. But they're obviously her mates. They're obviously people trying to support her to save her job. It's not saved. Let's see what happens with Star Wars. I am predicting that George Lucas will write that movie, and it was George Lucas who wanted her to direct that movie, but that's because she directed the first film, and now we're learning from even her own mouth that she had very little say in what was done in that movie. And if George Lucas was actually sensible, he would have actually insisted that Zack Snyder directed Rogue Squadron, but we don't want Zack Snyder to be leaving the DCEU anytime soon. Could he do both? Yes. Under the protection of George Lucas, he can make an amazing movie. The guy makes beautiful art. Simple as that. It's undeniable. I don't know why people hate the man, hate his style. I think he's amazing. His work is beautiful. Wonder Woman 2017 proves it. Man of Steel proves it. And BVS especially proves it. Especially that Nightmare Future. Just fucking stunning. Zack Snyder knows how to tell DC character stories. We all know that. And if people were just patient with his Justice League saga, they would have seen it. But oh no, people wanted, it's not Marvel, blah, 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 boo-hoo, cry me a fucking river. Do you know what I mean? He's back. We won. End of story. So at the end of the day, Wonder Woman 1984 is not only a disappointment within a film, not a terrible movie, a movie that I can still go back to watch. It's okay. But unfortunately, we have memories of the first film. And that's the problem. Now, when you look at Superman 2 compared to Superman the movie, it stands up. It's a really good sequel because they did the whole, sacrifice and love, losing his powers so much better than Patty Jenkins did in Wonder Woman 84. And the way he rises up, and becomes Superman again, General, would you like to step outside? It's awesome. It's so powerful. And after Steve Trevor goes, the flying sequence, it's all beautiful. It's all good stuff. And the emotional ending works. I'm not criticising that. I'm just not sure that's what the kind of entirety of the audience wanted. So I think if we didn't have a pandemic, Wonder Woman 1984 would have had a fabulous 200 million global opening, which would have been massive, maybe more than that. And then it would have kind of hobbled on to maybe, if it was lucky, maybe 700 million, maybe a little less, 650, which would have been perfectly acceptable, but it wouldn't have been a flop. So this film wouldn't have had a flop. It still would have had a huge drop-off because of the way she made this movie. So in terms of comparing it with a non-pandemic, yes, the film's a flop, but ultimately the film is making strong money while being in a pandemic. This is the decision they made. They got it out there. You can't keep on delaying things you're investing in. There's no money in that. It's just about waiting for this pandemic to go to get better so we can go back to the way things used to be within, the release window of movies. And that's what I think about that. Now, let's talk about my top 3 favourite live-action supervillains. At number 3, this is going to shock you and upset you. It's going to be James Marsters' Brainiac in Smallville. Why? Now, the Brainiac on Krypton, the TV show, looks amazing and intimidating, and it's basically more comic book accurate. But I like what James Marsters does on Smallville because he's a human being standing there. He's got act without a soul. He's a robot. All he wants to do is, execute his objectives, but he's so good at it. James Marsters plays this role beautifully. So I really enjoyed James Marsters' version of Brainiac on Smallville. And staying on the Smallville track, Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor, I'm going to say joint top. He's joint top with Michael Shannon's General Zod from Man of Steel. I think they're my top 3 DC villains. I think Michael Rosenbaum, what he did, what he was able to create with Lex Luthor, especially with Alan Miles, the showrunner. It was a great moment with John Glover's Lionel Luthor as well. Absolutely fantastic. So they're my top 3 villains. And of course, we've spoken about Michael Shannon's Zod. I'm running out of superlatives. So he's an amazing actor. He was an amazingly written actor. And importantly, Zod's motivations in Man of Steel are so understandable in what happens in the Middle East and Africa when people, create a revolution because they feel their world's being run badly by bad people. And this is what happened. So, Michael Shannon did a great job. Rosenbaum did a great job as Lex Luthor in Smallville. And I love James Marsters' Brainiac. So last night, thanks to a Daily Mirror journalist from the UK paper, we found out a rumour, well, apparently it's a rumour, that Jodie Whitaker will be leaving her role as the 13th Doctor at the end of the 13th series of Doctor Who. That will be showrun and written by Chris Chibnall, of course. Now, the Mirror seem to have lots of exclusives in terms of Doctor Who. They've absolutely never been wrong, especially this journalist. So, basically, I think this is true. Jodie Whitaker will end her run at the end of her 3rd season. This is actually nothing new. Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi only did 3 seasons. Now, David Tennant did 3 seasons, but he did the specials, which was really like a 4th season. How many seasons did he do, actually? 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so basically, he did 4 seasons with the specials. So David Tennant stayed there a little bit longer. Right, this is interesting because some people say, some people who never were happy with Jodie Whittaker's casting, listen, for the people who are not happy with her because she's a female, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk about that because the Doctor can take any shape or form. It's nothing to do with that. And I don't have that agenda personally. Did I used to lay in bed saying, oh, I'd love a female Doctor? Of course I didn't. I'd be lying. But it didn't trigger me that much. The Doctor can regenerate into anyone that he or she wants to. But the problem has been from day one that this era of Doctor Who, the Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall era, have been so watered down without any excitement or passion or character or personality. And it's not just Jodie and her companions, it's the environment of the show and the way Chibnall's written it. Now, when you do something with Broadchurch, it's a darker show. It did lack a kind of soul in a way, because it's about a whodunit, and it works. Although he did his character, he done loads of character development with all his characters in Broadchurch. So it's mystifying that he's come on to Doctor Who and literally watered down the show. Now, it looks great, and there's certain elements that are okay. We can't urinate on the whole thing, but it simply hasn't worked for me. And here's the truth. Neither Jodie Whitaker's or Peter Capaldi's Doctor have been anything to write home about. I haven't embraced them emotionally, and that's not down to the actors. These are brilliant actors, and they are. I mean, Peter Capaldi is even an Oscar-winning director. He's a brilliant guy. So much loves Doctor Who, and that's the difference between him and Jodie Whitaker. She's not a Doctor Who fan. Her first announcement, her first press release was that she was a feminist, and she told us men not to be afraid of women. You don't do that, do you? That's not the first thing you say. You lie and you say, it's a dream come true to play the Doctor. I'm going to give it everything, and hopefully we can work together with the fans and Chris and the production team to do a great job. And even if you're not a Doctor Who fan, just say that you are. It doesn't really matter. But not once have I heard Jodie, like the other previous Doctor Who actors, talk about the mentality between this Doctor, how different she is, why she's like this and why she's not like that. She's never spoken about the character. All she's ever done is talking about little girls having a female to look to, yada, yada, yada. So, and that doesn't matter. That's not a deal breaker if she's playing a great version of the Doctor. So it's never worked. She's never felt like the Doctor. I mean, Peter Capaldi felt like the Doctor, and I loved him in his first episode. I liked that. But then when they watered him down and made it the Clara show, it was utterly disappointing. So she's leaving. So take that to the bank. She's definitely leaving. There's no question about that. I have no doubt about that. So for those of you who are happy, for whatever reason you're happy about, just remember Chris Chibnall in this article has said he's not going anywhere. And so Jo Martin, I believe, will take over as Dr. Ruth, as she was revealed as the Doctor in the season 12 episode, blah, 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 of the Jadoon, or whatever it was called, right? And so she will take over. Now, there's different ways they can do this. This is really the first time we've known who the next Doctor's going to be so early. I mean, a lot of people are still talking about Chris Marshall, which I would love, but he's not going to cast a male Doctor. It's going to be another female Doctor. You're going to have to deal with it, like it or not. And even just from a few scenes of Jo Martin as the Doctor, we know Chris Chibnall seems more invested in making this more of a character, more of an interesting Doctor with nuance. You can even tell already from when we saw her on the finale and the Jadoon episode. I think we're going to get more from this Doctor, so that is exciting. I don't know why. You know, Jodie Whitaker is Chris Chibnall's friend. He brought her on because he trusts her. He wanted to cast a female, but he wanted to cast someone he could trust. And he does trust her implicitly. And I don't think she's leaving because they think, oh, we better get rid of her. I think she's going because she's done 3 years, and this is what they're going to do now, 3 years and done. So she's going. The BBC have no comment to make, which means, yeah, hands up, it's true. And it's not a leak. Chris Chibnall has a good relationship with this journalist. He's put it out there, so we know about it. It's obvious. So Jodie Whitaker will leave at the end of season 13, and it's going to be very interesting how that happens, how he deals with the Timeless Child. Now, I did say in my review of Revolution of the Daleks that I liked the scene between, what's his name? Forgot his name. Ryan and the Doctor. I thought it's the most emotional scene we've had in Chibnall's Doctor Who. I thought it was really good. But a lot of people are saying it wasn't emotional. Anyway, I liked the scene. But it's interesting, the wording now. A lot of people have kind of brought this to my attention, like when he says, you know, change is scary and different, but you've got to find out the truth and everything will be okay. It is like Chibnall is actually telling us. A lot of people see it as a big middle finger, but I think in a way he's trying to say there. I think he treats us like children. I know it's scary. I know it's different, but when we reveal it all, you're going to love it. And so how is all this going to play out if it is, of course, the fantastic Jo Martin, who I hope will be the next Doctor? It makes absolute sense, and it will be great. It will be great. So we can have Jo Martin as the Doctor. We can finish the Chibnall era in a positive kind of circumstance rather than all of this negativity going on, because he seems more invested in her Doctor. I don't know why the reason is. Maybe he feels there's more to work with her. I don't know. Anyway, so that's something for me that I'm a little bit excited about. So how does this work? We already have been told by Chris that she's not a multiverse Doctor. She is the Doctor in the timeline, and there's been theories and thoughts. The only other theory I can think of, I may have mentioned it on my videos before, that maybe Jodie's Doctor is the alternate Earth Doctor, and somehow we didn't see that coming. Who knows? But that is official today. Well, it's not official, but you can take it to the bank. Jodie Whitaker will end her run as the Doctor at the end of season 13. And I'm telling you this as well because I truly believe it. Jo Martin will be the next Doctor. And you can comment down below and let me know what you think of this. Listen, I was thinking about this. I was smoking a cigarette, as I said before, always doing my best thinking. And when I'm smoking a cigarette, not very healthy, but it works for my brain. And I was thinking, sooner or later, they're going to have to announce she's leaving because I just believed it. Free and done. That's it, free and done. Jodie Whitaker's finished. For me, I'm not going to remember this era. We're always going to remember the timeless child thing for one reason or the other. We know why he did it. We know why he did it, and people are angry about it, and I understand that anger. But I just want to wait to see how this story ends up. And if it ends up in a good way, at least we can say, well, at least it was a kind of interesting arc. If it finishes off like there's not much to explore and he puts all the pieces, I just think he's going to put the pieces back together the way they were. I just feel that. I just don't think he's bold enough to change things forever. So it's going to be interesting what he does here. Because I don't think any showrunner worth their salt is going to want to deal with this timeless child thing going forward. So he's going to have to put it to bed one way or the other. And it'll be interesting how he does that. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU and everything else daily. See you again soon.